Welcome back to Trump Tuesday. This is episode 39, and also Election Day. Let's get right into the news. It has been one heavy week on the campaign trail for both Biden and Trump. Trump, as usual, has been holding mega rallies, and Biden has been holding much smaller drive-in rallies, and I guess we'll find out which one is more effective tonight. However, I do have to say, stranding your rallygoers in the freezing cold weather is not a good look, especially when the people who are voting for you are the rallygoers. That's like abandoning a surgery halfway through the operation. Anyway, here's my election prediction map. There we go, it's on the screen. I may be right, but I'll most likely be wrong. I don't know, we'll have to see. Right now, Trump and his friends are in the court to stop ballots from coming in after November 3rd, because they clearly see that Trump cannot win with mail-in ballots. What this would do is basically block hundreds of thousands of votes that come in late, which by the way is still completely allowed. There isn't a rule in the Constitution that demands a winner by 11:59 p.m. on November 3rd. Here's Jason Miller claiming that counting every vote equals stealing the election.
If you speak with many smart Democrats, they believe that President Trump will be ahead on election night, probably getting 280 electorals, somewhere in that range. And then they're going to try to steal it back after the election. We believe that we will be over 290 electoral votes on election night. So no matter what they try to do, what kind of hijinks or lawsuits or whatever kind of nonsense they try to pull off, we're still going to have enough electoral votes to get President Trump reelected.
Jeez. This is like when a bad guy in a movie announces his evil plan to take over the world. Except this is on national television with thousands of people watching. In fact, Republicans seem to be fully open about it and don't even try to hide their plan to steal the election. Including Trump, who claimed regularly that he wants the winner to be decided on November 3rd.
I think it's a terrible thing when ballots can be collected after an election. I think it's a terrible thing when people or states are allowed to tabulate ballots for a long period of time after the election is over, because it can only lead to one thing, and it's very bad. You know what that thing is. I think it's a very dangerous, terrible thing. We should know the result of the election on November 3rd, the evening of November 3rd. That's the way it's been, and that's the way it should be. What's going on in this country? What's going on?
Hopefully, the few states remaining that want to take a lot of time after November 3rd to count ballots, that won't be allowed by the various courts, because as you know, we're in courts on that. We just had a big victory yesterday in Wisconsin on that matter. So hopefully that won't be happening, okay?
It's crazy how Trump always finds something to brag about, even when it means exposing himself. He thinks when you just say things out loud, it won't be considered bad. Trump is the type of person to openly say they committed a crime, but think it's not bad because he keeps repeating it. And it'll be false to say his plan isn't working. Just the other day, the Texas Supreme Court denied the GOP's push to throw out 127,000 votes in largely Democratic Harris County. Let's move on to Trump rallies. And in one of them, he told his supporters about how he figured out he got COVID-19.
I wasn't feeling good, and what the doctor came in, and great doctors, great White House doctors, Sean, and they came in, they said, "Sir, you've tested positive." I said, "Tested positive for what?"
How many things do we get tested for? Let's see here. Diabetes, rabies, smallpox, influenza, SATs? Oh no, not that one. Trump then took a swing at Joe Biden's physical condition and started talking about fighting Joe Biden.
Big guy, the big guy, they call him. He's not a big guy. He's not a big guy. Boom, boom. He's not a big guy. Go. I'd like to take him to the back of the barn. Boom, boom. A slight slap.
Oh, and you're the one to talk? You look like a deep fried Cheeto with the little white fibers that come out of the top of corn as hair. Trump is like that one school bully who tries to act like he's cool and tough, but fails miserably. I heard we have footage for Trump preparing for the fight. Trump seems to have some very weird ideas on how to eat with a mask on, as he pointed out in one of his rallies. Trump thinks that instead of just taking off your mask, you have to somehow get the food through your mask.
You cannot, under any circumstances, take it off. You have to eat through the mask. Right, Charlie? It's a very complex mechanism, and they don't realize those germs. They go through it like nothing. They look at you with that contraption and they say, "That's an easy one. I'll go right through with the food." Now, how about California, though, where you're supposed to eat with the mask? Can't take it off.
How are you supposed to eat with a mask on? At this point, he can just make anything up and his supporters will believe it. I wouldn't be surprised if he also started saying that masks cause cancer. In North Carolina, Trump suggested cold weather would dissuade refugees from staying in the country.
So we had a couple of cold stops today. One was so cold, we talked about refugees. We said if they come in, they're going to say, I want to go back immediately. We're so comfortable.
I'm gonna take a guess and say because they're refugees, they're probably not going back because of the code, or going back in general. However, if there is one reason, it's because of you. Now, for Trump to win this election, he would need to win the key state of Florida, and that means reaching out to Hispanic and Latino voters. Here is Senator Rick Scott trying to speak Spanish at a Trump rally in Miami.
El Partido Demócrata de Joe Biden se ha convertido en el Partido Socialista. Nuestro país merece algo mejor. Queremos 4 años más. 4 años más.
Now, I only know very little Spanish, but I'm gonna take a guess and say that that wasn't Spanish. In fact, if anything, this would drive away more Hispanic voters than draw them in. This isn't the first time the Trump campaign is trying to reach out to minority voters. Trump put this ad to draw up Indian voters in 2016.
I look forward to working with Prime Minister Modi.
Abi Kibar, Trump, Sarkar. We love the Hindus. We love India.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
This will still remain one of the most iconic ads in presidential history ever. Trump and his allies are planning to steal the election, try to block hundreds of thousands of votes across the country from counting if it goes past November 3rd. The Republican Party claims to have strict interpreting of the Constitution, yet when it comes to when the votes end, Republicans make up their own laws to fit the president's need. Not only that, but the president continues to hold mega rallies. Donald Trump Jr. said 1,000 deaths every day is, quote, almost nothing. Chief of Staff Mark Meadows admitted by saying that they are not going to control the pandemic, and Trump fails to appeal to suburban women by saying, quote, get your husbands back to work. We do not need 4 more years of Donald Trump. And if he does get reelected, then we need to knock him back into his senses by just...
A slight slap.
Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week on the final episode of Trump Tuesday.